All right, what's going on, y'all? So I got the blood work back after being off of TRT for about 4 weeks after using it for about 4.5 years. As y'all know, I've been trying to PCT off of TRT, see if I can regain my natural function. I've talked about why I'm doing this. I had several reasons behind it. The main reason being regaining my fertility. So I got the blood work back. So we're going to talk about, first off, how I'm feeling. Second off, the blood work. And then third off, what the plan is now moving forward. So first off, with how I'm feeling. If y'all saw the last video after I had done that run, y'all saw that I was starting to feel the effects of coming off and, what I felt to be low testosterone. I can tell you ever since that video, it has been a pretty quick decline. It's like every 6 hours was like another descent into darkness, essentially. Pretty much every single effect of low testosterone I felt. Extremely low libido, not only low interest, but no functioning. Moodiness, I am not a moody person at all, but I was having some pretty massive mood swings. Literally some pretty, I don't want to call it severe depression, but just this darkness and heaviness that I have not experienced. I'm a very happy, very chill person, and the last 5 or so days has been just a very heavy, dark period. Definitely not a fun time. And also with energy and everything, I would push myself through workouts. Strength began flatlining, which I was, that's to be expected. But as far as, just energy and motivation, just essentially no motivation to do anything. I still pushed myself through it and just had, kind of that mental discipline to do what needed to get done. But literally just no drive or anything. So I was experiencing all of the kind of low effects of testosterone. So I believe it was 3 or so nights ago I got the results back for LH and FSH. I'll go and throw that up here. That's absolutely bottomed out. So these are the numbers that I've had literally on heavy PED cycles back when I was competing. I had been on enclomiphene already for about a week. It'd been 4 weeks since TRT, and as y'all know, I tapered that down. So it was already at a low dose when I pulled off. I had been using HCG. There should have been at least a little bit more movement here. I know it's only been, 4 weeks off and only, about a week into enclomiphene, but there should have been a little bit more movement here. So this was already kind of discouraging me on how shut down I am. Now, ChatGPT gave me some pretty low odds in the beginning of this based off of my past PEDs usage. How long I had been on, all of that, it really gave me like a 30% chance of regaining natural function into kind of the medium range, like 400 to 600 total T. It said realistically, I'd probably regain function back into the 300 to 400 range. And then it gave a chance of not regaining that at all. Once I plugged in the LH and FSH, it dropped those odds a bit more. And then last night I got the testosterone results. And so, with how I was feeling and based off of, I've worked with many clients in the past that have tried to PCT for whatever reason, some of them fertility, others had other reasons. I've worked with clients that never were on TRT, they would PCT off of cycle. I knew based off of how I was feeling, I knew I had low test, but I was expecting it to come somewhere in the range of maybe 150 to 200. And with that, I was going to be realistic, but somewhat concerned about the odds of recovery. But when I saw what actually came back, my mouth dropped. So we'll go and throw it up here. My total T is at 45. And guys, I am telling you, I feel this. I would not wish this feeling on my worst enemy. This is one of the worst feelings I've had. The only thing I can compare it to, it's in a different way, but when I bottomed out my estrogen, getting ready for contest preps, this is similar, but with other effects. Back in the day when I first went on TRT, if y'all know, I had numbers in the low 300s, and that was after a long period of ultra training. I was a lot lighter, a lot lower muscle tissue. If you all see the videos, I looked a lot softer. I got that test done pretty shortly after a big, long ultra running season. So, I didn't know whether I had low T going into my TRT usage. Like, I had never tried to optimize my natural test function. When I found out that I had low T after the long endurance running, they offered me TRT. I went ahead and jumped on it. And then, of course, I got into steroid use for bodybuilding. But, with this whole process, me wanting to PCT, it was kind of a question mark if I even had decent test levels to begin with way back in the day. And I, now after seeing this, I don't think I did, or if I did, I completely destroyed it with the last several years of bodybuilding. Now, here's the thing, it has only been 4 weeks. It does take time for this stuff to recover. I could give it another 3 months, 6 months, potentially a year, but I can tell you that with how bad the effects are, I'm not willing to do that. I'm getting back on TRT. Like I said, I would not wish this feeling on my worst enemy. This has been insanely rough, to the point that if I had to deal with this for a significant period of time, I truly believe that this could negatively impact my life, whether that's my business, whether that's my marriage. This just isn't good. So I'm getting back on TRT. I will be talking in the future about the, if you have low T, you need to be on T, or you need to go get tested and really talk about it with your doctor. Really think about it and all of that, because this is I have a new level of empathy for those living with low T. Back in the day, before I'd gotten on TRT and then got on TRT and immediately saw how much better I felt. It's been years since that, so I'd kind of forgotten the feeling myself, but now I went from low 300s down to 45, and I can tell you that this is just awful. So I'm getting back on TRT. I'm going to be using the time to kind of nail in the exact dose for me. Over the last year and a half, I've been mostly on 175 milligrams a week. Tapered that down a little bit. I really think now I'm going to taper this down even more and try to find the healthiest long-term dose. And so now I know I'm going to be on for life. Now this kind of wiped out any question mark of whether I could recover or not. The whole point here is that, I could give it 6 months to a year, potentially recover, but ChatGPT, and based off of all the research I've done, based off of past clients, ChatGPT literally gives me a 10% chance of recovering to 500 plus again. And it really believes that I won't ever get above, 300 again. And I truly believe that as well, based off all the research I've seen and all the past clients I've had and all of that. So I'm going to be getting back on TRT, finding out the exact dose. Now, if you guys have been following, that a big reason I was doing this was for fertility reasons. So basically, through all this time, I have come in contact with so many guys that have gotten pregnant while on TRT. Some were able to do it with HCG alone, and then some had to use FSH support like HMG. So what I'm going to be doing is the next 3 to 6 months, I'm going to be doing TRT with HCG. I'm going to retest my semen in 3 to 6 months. I got a semen analysis done about a month ago. I'm going to retest it in 3 to 6 months. Based off of where my numbers were, even though they were low, I wasn't azoospermic. I still had some sperm. So, I think with HCG is going to bump it up. Worst case scenario, if it doesn't, then after 6 months, I'm going to go ahead and employ HMG as well. And I'm truly confident that I'm going to be able to reestablish fertility while on TRT. Based off of everything I've studied and seen, I truly believe that it might just take more time, but I'm going to be able to reestablish fertility. But this is where I'm at. And guys, I'm telling you, low tests like this is it's rough. So like I said, I keep you guys posted. I'm going to keep you guys posted now on this process of me reintroducing everything back, trying to get everything optimized. I was discouraged at first because I took this on as a challenge of, I really believed I could regain natural function, or it wouldn't take that much time. And you know, I'm mentally, I want to say I mentally could push through this, but guys, this has taken me for a loop, and I've done some really, really hard things in my life. So, you know, this is definitely something, if you've got low testosterone or you have the symptoms of low testosterone, I highly recommend you consider testosterone replacement therapy. And I'll be talking about in the future, you know, all the environmental factors and everything causing low T. You know, mine, you know, I don't know what my natural T was realistically without ultra running in place, trying to maximize it before going into this. But, you know, based off of looking at where I was and, you know, kind of the softness of my features and everything, I really think I was on the lower end anyway. But, you know, that's something we can talk about in future videos. But here's the blood work, guys. I'm going to keep y'all posted as we move forward. Hopefully I have a little bit of a kind of a rebound, since, you know, it's been so long since I came off of TRT, now reintroducing the test back. You know, I've got my volume and everything locked into the gym. Hopefully I, you know, have a little bit of a bounce back in the gym. I'm 214 right now. You know, maybe I'll bounce back up to 218, 220. We'll see. But I'll keep you guys posted. Let me know if you have any comments, questions down below. Hit that like button if you can. All glory to God. God bless y'all. Have a great rest of your day.